What's up, everybody? Welcome to S.W.A.T MMA. We're smoking weed. We're talking mixed martial arts. This is EP 133. I'm Jarrod here with Paul.
What up?
Coming to you from the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Today, Carlos Lozoya returns to the show to discuss his last two victories. And then we're going to take a deep dive with Carlos into the upcoming UFC 274 and get his thoughts on all that action. Plus, we bring back the boxing breakdown to discuss some of the incredible fights we've seen there and some exciting upcoming ones as well. But you know what happens now. Before we get to the combat sports, you know what time it is. Grab your weed, fire it up, and let's get into the weed of the week.
Smoke weed every day.
All right, so this week we have Alien Moon Pie. It's an interesting one.
This is an interesting one. It's got some interesting terpenes in here. What are we looking at for terpenes today on this Alien Moon Pie?
So we got a lot of myrcene in this one, so we might be taking a nap after the show.
Uh-oh.
But that's pretty sporty, though. 20% THC, you know. Nothing too crazy, but a good solid percentage there.
I like it. It's pretty flavorful. It's got interesting genetics here. Now, and it's kind of funny because last week we were talking a lot about how cherry pie comes into play in so many strains, and we're going to see that once again here. So Alien Moon Pie is a cross of Alien Moonshine, or sometimes called Aliens on Moonshine, and Black Cherry Pie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Alien Moonshine is very interesting because it's a CBD-rich strain. Does this have a CBD profile on here? No, it does not. Not all of the dispensaries out here will put that on. However, if we break it down a little bit further, because Alien Moonshine is actually a strain I'm not familiar with. So that's a cross of Sour Alien, which has some sour diesel in those roots as well, one of my favorites, and White Moonshine. And then, of course, if people forget, well, the Black Cherry Pie is Blackberry Kush crossed with Cherry Pie. And then in case you somehow missed last week's episode, Cherry Pie is Granddaddy Purps and Durban Poison. So this makes a really interesting flavor profile, man. I'm digging it. We got a little bit of AK-47 left over from last week, too, in a bubbler. Any more thoughts on that weed, my friend?
I like it, actually. It's pretty cool.
I do, too.
It's got a little, kind of this is going to sound funny because it's weed. Everything tastes earthy, but it tastes like a little extra earthy. Like, I don't know. Like it has a little spiciness to it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm trying to get more into the flavor profiles of weed. Some of them are really easy, like anything that has like high limonene, you know, especially when it's got the orange terpenes in there too. Like you can really taste
that citrus flavor,
the citrus stuff. But some of these others, like honestly, dude, I think a lot of it that you read on the internet is bullshit.
Yeah, just like wine, it's like the same thing. Like everyone has a ability to taste flavors with their palate, but like some people just go a little overboard. It's like, hey, simmer down there, guy.
Let's all get real here. Nobody's grabbing a bag of weed and then being like, I taste notes of 6 different kinds of berries crossed with an earthy umami flavor of mushrooms and what is that? Some jet fuel. like yes, there are some flavors in there without a doubt. But just like you said with the wine, I think some people's imagination gets a little
run wild,
a little carried away. But you're right, though. Circling back, there's definitely some earthiness in this profile.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you're smoking on, if smoking is your thing, it doesn't have to be. But if you happen to be partaking with us at the moment, I hope it's fucking delicious and soon to be legal, if not legal, wherever you are. Exciting thing happening today, dude.
Yes, sir. We have the return of former guest and real close friend of mine, Carlos Azoia.
Joining us today for the second time is a professional MMA fighter, now sporting a record of 7-2, currently on a 6-fight win streak across 2 divisions. Carlos Lozoya, welcome back.
What's up? What's up? How you guys doing?
Man, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And we know you're just coming off
a lot of changes in your career, and we're going to talk about those. And then we want to hear your thoughts on the upcoming UFC 274 card. However, but since the last time you were here, let's see, you changed camps and you had two huge victories, Ricky Steele, Randy Villarreal. Let's talk a little bit about that first one, since we haven't talked to you since then, against Ricky Steele.
Yeah, Ricky was a stud, man. I remember when I was fighting him, like in the first round. I remember I grabbed him and I was like, dude, you are strong. I remember feeling him. I was like, damn, this dude's strong. But I knew he couldn't keep up that pace, like, of strength. But Ricky is a special athlete for sure, and he's awkward to deal with because he has like that karate background. Yeah, definitely probably the biggest name I've beaten was Ricky because he was on Contender Series and Ultimate Fighter, and then fought for the LFA title. But yeah, that was a good win on me, and then I finished him with one of the dopest submissions ever.
Yeah,
That mounted triangle choke.
The submission was literally one of them, as high level as it gets. Like, do you feel like that whole having that jiu-jitsu background like that was the difference for you in that fight? Because you did stand with him for a little bit, and you took you into that deep water. Do you feel like you just were overall better when it came to the ground?
I think, because I've always had like great jiu-jitsu, and there's a lot of guys that have great jiu-jitsu that don't do great at jiu-jitsu and MMA. I think I understand grappling and wrestling and controlling people, and I mix it in with my jiu-jitsu. But yeah, for sure, because Ricky, like, my path of victory wasn't like being on my feet with Ricky. It was taking him down, and grinding him out. But yeah, I think my IQ with grappling is I think it's just a different level than most people.
Well, we obviously saw that too going into the Villarreal fight, where you get another finish from dominant top position with the elbows and just real vicious in the second one. Now coming off like two finishes, like, where do you feel like that puts you? You know what I mean? Like, going forward.
I think it definitely puts me in the talk, like, of getting the UFC. So right now we're trying to work a short notice, and but if that doesn't happen, then no matter what, I'll be fighting in like 2 months. So I'm just trying to stay active. I'm still healthy, and even if I got like a Contender Series contract or something like that, I still want to fight in 2 months and then fight on the Contender Series, or like fight in 2 months and then fight on a short notice. Whatever happens, man. That's kind of the plan, and that's kind of like the direction. Either we're like waiting for a short notice, or like waiting for Contender Series. And then if neither of those happen, I'm just gonna fight, because I know I'm gonna kill anybody right now, especially in the regional scene. But I know when I get to the UFC, dude, I'm still gonna be doing this. It's still gonna be the same thing. I'm gonna be killing these guys.
Are you targeting 135 or 125, or either that comes up?
125 more for sure. But if it was a good fight at 135, I'd take it. But I mean, dude, like, I literally, I mean, I got a nutritionist for 125, but I only had to cut 4 pounds of water, which was awesome. I did 2 pounds at night, slept off a pound, and then two pounds in the morning. And and then after rehydration, I was like, I gained 11 pounds within an hour of just rehydrating. Felt great, man. I felt like a battery. So 125 is definitely my weight class. And then 135, I was just, I was just so busy with the military. I didn't have like the chance to diet. I didn't have the resources to do it. So I think 125 is going to be my division. But 135, if the fight makes sense, then yeah. I think I'll beat most people at 135 too. It's just, it's annoying dealing with the height and reach, Like guys like Ricky, fighting guys like that all the time, it's annoying. And it's a little bit more dangerous. But whereas like at 125, I'm fighting guys more my build, like 5'5", around that area. I'm not fighting anyone that's like 6 foot, which I've done before.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
Well, another thing that's changed since your last visit on the show is that you moved out to Boston and you're training with Joe Lauzon at Lauzon MMA, correct?
Oh yeah.
How's that experience been so far?
It's been awesome, man. Like I've gotten to train with some really good people. Um, like training with Joe. Joe has like good insight because he's like had a million fights in the UFC, and then getting to train with the cartel out here with Rob Font and Cater. I've only done it a couple times, but it's not as much that like I've learned like a bunch of like new techniques. It's just kind of reaffirmed my level, you know, of like where I am with my striking, where I am with my grappling. And I know I'm a grappler, but I stand up with these guys. Like I do good with everybody. So it just kind of reaffirmed everything and put more confidence in me, man. And but it's great because these guys are just it's a cool little community out here, like out in New England. Like everyone kind of trains, cross trains with everybody, and then we all want to help each other make it, you know. So uh, I find that there's a lot more fighters around my weight around here that I can train with versus Washington, where it was like I I had good grapplers like Aston Doffron, who like he's a savage on the mats, but he wasn't an MMA guy I would get to train with. I had Joey Elzea out there. I mean, I'd be able to train with Terrence, but like once in a blue moon, he was across the state, and then you know I had like limits of how far I could go because of the military. But dude, it's been awesome out here, man. And then dialing in my strength conditioning out here too. I go to the same strength and conditioning as Joe and Rob Font, and then getting a nutritionist, man. It feels like I'm doing things finally right, you know. So it definitely is taking me to the next level with my physique, and then just kind of reaffirmed my confidence, you know, in my abilities.
So with that being said, do you feel like that's like a big part of why the weight cut was so easy? It was like you're really, you know, the classic sayings, iron sharpens iron. Plus, you know, you got all these guys who are natural bantamweights anyways, you know what I mean? So guys like you were talking about with Font and even Lauzon has been at 45, all the different weight classes he's been at. And so do you feel like that's like really changed your game in like a mental aspect more than anything? Or is it just like you were saying, you're not really learning as much as far as you know, like a lot of that. But do you think that's changed your mental game training with those guys who are like at top of the food chain?
Yeah, it's like I once saw an interview with someone that trained with Manny Pacquiao, right? And then he said there's nothing special that these guys are doing at the highest level, and but what's special is the work ethic that these guys put in. So like before sparring Manny Pacquiao, he would hit mitts, right? And then he would he would spar, and then most people would only spar, right? And then after sparring, you get on the bag and do intense bag work, right? So it's not taking shortcuts is really what I've found out here. Not taking shortcuts and doing things right, because it's and that's the biggest thing I'm doing now versus Washington, is that I'm doing things way more with like a purpose, you know. I'm doing things like I have a schedule, and I know when I'm slacking off, you know, and I don't, but um, it's like Joe and like all these other guys, they've put the blueprint of what you need to do to be at the highest level, you know, and all you got to do is follow it. It's real simple, you know. But yeah, that's definitely been a big reason why I've been getting better and stronger out here, for sure.
Well, speaking of Joe, so let's kind of transition into this weekend. So there's a big card coming up with the UFC 274. Joe as he's fighting Donald Cerrone, which is just a hell of a
Banger.
classic
Yeah.
matchup. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
Two guys who have just been around the game forever. Training with Joe and being in that camp while he's getting ready for this, like what have you seen on your side of things?
Man, he's it's so crazy. Joe, like, and it's probably because he's had a million fights. Dude, the guy feels no pressure. Like he just keeps doing what he's doing, and I think he's gonna do so good, man. I think he's gonna do really good. Joe's he's a great grappler, man, and he's deceivingly extremely strong. Like that guy, Joe is very, very strong guy, and he has a very awkward style. When like you grapple with him, he has a very awkward style to deal with, and he's a finisher, man, and I think he can definitely finish Cerrone. So, but watching him go through his camp, it's almost literally like another day. I mean, he's always at the gym anyways, and he's always like training, and I just see the composure in him, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, naturally, you being from that gym, you're gonna you're rooting for him. But when you're in his camp, is he the one like leading everything because it is his school, or is it kind of just everybody's just like doing their own thing?
In his camp, I mean, Joe still has coaches. I
Okay.
feel like Joe kind of he leads his own grappling because it's his school, but he has striking coaches. He has a couple of striking coaches, Jake Manini and dang, I forget a boxing coach. I forgot his name, Steve Mace, and they definitely help him a lot, right? With strategy. Even though Joe's like more of a grappler, they help him a lot with strategy and fighting, and really smart guys, honestly. Yeah, really smart guys. But they help him a lot with his striking, and Joe kind of leads the grappling for his own camp. But you know, every once in a while, me and Joe will kind of like bounce ideas off of each other for grappling. I'll be like, hey, I think this is cool, and be like, oh yeah, I like it doing like this. So you know, he's it's not that he's not open to new ideas. It's just he knows his path to success. You know, and and he's just high level already. So.
Well, that's a banger that starts off the main card.
Yeah,
So,
and real quick, I mean, I know you're obviously picking Joe to win here, but I'm curious as to how you think he gets to victory. Are you seeing a sub? Are you seeing a decision? Or you think it's going to go to strikes
I
and
think he
win?
could TKO. I think he could TKO. I think he could TKO Cerrone, because Joe has like some really good like pins. He pins people's arms away from your head. He does it really, really well, and he's vicious, dude. Man, he goes in there to like not submit you. He goes in there to hurt you, and I think he can submit. Not submit, but I think he could submit Cerrone also. But I can definitely see him breaking Cerrone with ground and pound and finishing him, because he has some crafty stuff, man. He's very crafty. I mean, I'm sure Cerrone does too, but Joe's a very good pinner. He pins people's arms away from their face. He does really well. But
Not
yeah,
a position you want to be in with him on top of you, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, you don't want him on top of you. He's like a water bug. When he's on top of you, he like floats over your legs and just gets into a dominant position. He's really good at it. Yeah.
well, and that's what's crazy about Joe's career, like as like a whole, because like if you look at so many different names and so many different people he's fought, like it's crazy to think even him and Cerrone that they're still even doing it to this day. You know what I mean? Like those guys are freaking pioneers of the sport when you really look at it. But yeah, I'm going with Joe as well. A similar. I think as I see a situation where possibly I think it's going to be a decision in my opinion, just because both guys are so game. I just, you know what I mean. But yeah, naturally, I got Joe as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking this might be. I mean, I don't know where Cerrone's contract is, but I mean, he's getting up there. I don't know how long he keeps doing it, because I see him losing here too. And I'm just curious if this might be his retirement fight or if he's going to keep sticking around a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you could probably say that about Joe too, because he's definitely, and he knows it. He's like at the end of his career, and I mean he's set off. He's like good to do whatever he wants. You know, he just does this because he loves it. You know, but who knows?
That's what I love about both guys.
Oh yeah, I know. They're both set off. They're okay. They don't need a fight, and yeah, he definitely loves fighting, man. Because it's rare. It's pretty rare that I don't see him in the gym, you know, and he has a passion about it. So.
Well, let's talk about your thoughts on some of these other fights, because this is a pretty sick UFC card. I mean, we've got double title fights. We've got Chandler versus Ferguson. We got OSP versus Shogun. What are your thoughts, like out of the main card, like between the Oliveira, Gaethje, and the Chandler, Ferguson, and the women's title fight, Namajunas Esparza? What's your favorite out of those three?
Oh my God. I
I know.
love the Chandler and Ferguson fight, and I love the Oliveira and Gaethje fight. Uh, I think I'm leaning more towards loving the Gaethje and Oliveira fight, uh, just because I copy a lot of things from Oliveira for his like striking to grappling scenarios, and man, he's so technical, man. I love watching him, man. He's just like water. He flows so good. No, I'm super excited about that fight, and then I think Tony is a perfect person to fight Chandler.
Yeah.
And I think Tony, that's a bad matchup for Chandler. Honestly, I know he's been on a bad skid, but I think that's a tailor-made fight for Tony. But
Really?
It seems
oh
the
yeah.
betting people agree with you too. They've got Tony at a -410 and
Oh wow.
Chandler
Really?
at a +310. I was looking at it today. I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. Because I mean, Tony's had kind of a strange little skid there, but like Chandler too. If you really look at it, I mean, like Chandler I came in with the splash, but then the last two fights, although they've been extremely exciting, extremely close, I mean, you kind of have to look at his UFC career right here and right now, and this is a huge pivotal fight for him if you really think of
Oh
it.
yeah.
Like not only is Tony Ferguson a huge fight, but if he loses to Ferguson, Gaethje, and Oliveira, all three back to back to back to back, like what I don't really know what that does for him in this division anymore. Like that kind of puts him in no man's land.
Oh yeah. I think it's a good matchup for Tony, and I'll tell you why. Because Chandler so explosive, right? He's incredibly explosive, but Tony is so durable and awkward. I could see I could see Chandler losing his steam in the second, and I can see Tony really starting to make like that famous Tony fight, I don't see Chandler like taking down Tony and then dominating him like Oliveira. I see Tony like really making this gritty and then Chandler breaking. That's what I see with this fight, and that's why I think it's a perfect fight for Tony, just because he's so man, he's just a dog, man. Like he's very resilient, and I think it's gonna play to his favor, and his conditioning's so good, man. But I like that fight too. It's gonna be exciting. I see Tony grinding it out, decision for that one.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I'm hoping happens, because I'd love to see Tony get right back into the title mix here with a victory. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see. I agree with what you're saying, like in that aspect. But my problem with it is I just don't know if that Tony Ferguson's there anymore, man. Like those last two fights, although they were against like top dogs, like I'm worried that, like you were saying, the explosiveness of Chandler could be a problem for Tony, in my opinion. Just because Tony does have a good way of like controlling the pace of the fight and everything, but like in his last fight, how Dariush was able to really take him down and kind of just hold him there, like it was worrisome for me because I'd
Yeah.
never seen Tony Ferguson get taken down and just.
Dariush is a smart fighter. He's also a jiu-jitsu world champion and
Yeah,
he's good grappling.
yeah, that's true.
Chandler, not a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a wrestler.
Yeah, but
So I don't see him doing the same thing that Tony as Dariush and Oliveira. Like those two guys are very, very high level jiu-jitsu. I think the difference with it is that Chandler's just he's just a wrestler,
I like Chandler's scrambling ability though. Watching like a lot of like his training footage with Usman and Gaethje and like a lot of the guys that he goes and gets in, like you remember like back in the day, just that scramble drill of just like always moving on to the next spot, next thing.
Yeah.
He's so good at that. And although he is explosive, like I think that's going to be the difference, like on the ground. Like I don't think he's going to dominate Tony on the ground, but I just feel like he's going to be able to flow with him. You know what I mean?
I think he'll be able to scramble with him for one round. I think he's too explosive, and then I think his ability to scramble is going to go less and less and less. And I think Tony is going to pick up. I'm hoping, at least that's how I hope. I like Chandler too, but man, I love Tony. I used to love like his little sand technique. He'd reach down, grab some sand, and throw it in the eye. It would make me laugh so much, man. But yeah, he's Tony's just a tweak, man. You can't teach that.
Yeah, you can't teach Tony Ferguson.
That's for sure.
But yeah, so my final picks gonna be Chandler. You're going with Tony. Jarrod,
Yeah.
who you
I'm
got?
going with Tony just on a pure, just because I want him to win.
Yeah.
So just
Oh,
as
yeah.
a fan, I'm just, please, let's see a win for Tony.
So-
What about this Oliveira Gaethje? Now that's a really interesting matchup as well. I mean, Oliveira's looked a little susceptible to some stand up in his last few fights in the first round, and we all know how Gaethje just fucking comes out swanging. So, your thoughts on that matchup as well?
I think it's a dangerous. It's a dangerous fight for Oliveira. But I think I see Oliveira submitting him. I see that because he as soon as he gets you down, man, it's just an instant threat of you being finished. And dude, Oliveira's a good wrestler. He's a really good wrestler too. I mean, he took down Chandler. He took down Dustin multiple times. And if he could take Dustin's shots and still be there to finish him, he can take Gaethje's shots and still be there to finish him. And even when he gets hurt, man, he's smart. He's still dangerous on the feet. Like he still marches forward. He keeps that no man's land space occupied. You know, he's so technically sound. You know, and Gaethje's so technically sound too. But I mean, he could get clipped too. Like he's gotten clipped. He's gotten finished. You know,
He's a wild man. He doesn't care. He just throws caution to the wind all the time. So I mean,
yeah.
he's one of those ones where it's like, and I do think a big part of this fight too is like in the Khabib fight. Like I feel like that fight is going to be very similar to this fight. Like it's going to be a situation where Gaethje's going to go balls to the wall on the feet, but if it goes to the ground, I just don't see a scenario where he can survive like Oliveira's like constant like answer for everything he's gonna do on the ground, because like going into the Khabib fight, everyone was like, because you know and I know like Gaethje has wrestled some top level guys that like you know Burroughs and so many other guys where he's wrestled them at such like a tough level. When that happened with Khabib, that was like such a red flag to me that he's just not on the same level of grappling that he once was. And I feel like that's going to be the X factor for Oliveira, because if he can survive the feet, I just don't feel like Gaethje's ground game is where it needs to be for him to be like the champion. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. No. And people don't realize wrestling, MMA, and then wrestling are two completely different sports. They're so
100%.
different, man. That's why you see these wrestlers getting taken down and smothered. But yeah, I agree with you. If I'm Chandler, or sorry, if I'm Oliveira, I'm mixing all the guys' names up. If I'm Oliveira, I'm definitely studying that old film of Gaethje getting controlled like that by Khabib. And yeah, Habib's special in like that grappling department. But dude, so is Oliveira. Oliveira's
Yeah.
I think he can finish Gaethje. And I love Gaethje, man. And that's gonna be a good fight still. I think I could totally see Gaethje rocking Oliveira, or maybe even finishing him. But I think if it gets out of the second round, I think Oliveira wins, you know? So
And Oliveira's striking is much improved as well. I mean, he can hang a little bit. Like, you're right, he could definitely tag Gaethje up.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I thought, you know, looking back at the Khabib fight, I really thought that was the time when we would see this. Because I wasn't familiar with Gaethje's wrestling outside of MMA. Like I met him in MMA, and I just heard he was a good wrestler, but we've never seen it. And I thought for sure we'd see it in the Khabib fight, and we didn't. And I just got to agree with Paul. I think it goes the same way. He's not going to be able to stop him. He's going to get submitted.
Yeah.
But it'll be a great fucking fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great fight. That's gonna be a banger for sure. I mean, both these guys can get finished at any point. And yeah, Gaethje's just exciting to watch. He's killed so many people too, man. But yeah, you're right. He hasn't really shown that wrestling. He showed it a little bit with Chandler, but he just kind of like front flipped out of a double.
Yeah.
You know, which is like it is like a good scramble. But
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't see him really scrambling that well. He just doesn't have the jiu-jitsu, man. He literally has like white belt jiu-jitsu. Like when he's mounted, he's like holding like incorrectly. He's exposing himself. So you can definitely see where all his focus is in training. You know, he's not doing jiu-jitsu like that. He uses his wrestling to stay on his feet, and I think nobody's ever wanted to try to wrestle with him because he had those like wrestling credentials. But I think Khabib really put that like question to of like his wrestling. He put it out there.
Well, what people don't realize too is like wrestling is not something you just like you did it at one time in your life and then now you're just the greatest forever. You know what I mean? Like it's such a game of like different styles, and and I know like we've wrestled so many different people like over the time, like our lifetime. Like no two people are the same when you're talking about like actual styles and how just like the feel, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the actual feel, like when you get in there and you don't even have to do anything, just like that first exchange of like a tie up or how their stances and stuff like that. Like it, it just does when you take so much time, and I don't know exactly as far as how much wrestling he's doing or not doing now, but you can tell it's a lot less than earlier in his life. You can just see in his like fighting style and his like just everyday grappling exchanges in his fights that he's not wrestling as much as he used to. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Like he's
Yeah.
not. There's
The same
like you were
riding the
saying.
bike. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
keep this
It's
shit
not. Yeah.
forever.
No, hell no, hell no.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's like if if you're Gaethje and you saw what happened in the Khabib fight, maybe this is an opportunity for him to show everyone like, hey, that happened to me then, but since then I've been in the gym working on that same stuff. And hopefully we see that, because if that's the case, this fight could be a knockdown, drag out war, just like so many classic Justin
Gaethje
Gaethje
fights.
fights. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Regardless of all these outcomes of Joe and Cerrone, uh, Gaethje and Oliveira, and then Ferguson and Chandler. Regardless of the outcomes, man, they're all gonna be good fights. Like
yeah, they're all bangers.
you don't put these styles together and then see a
Mm.
boring fight. Like these are all
Hmm.
good fights, man. So I'm excited.
Hmm.
And oh yeah, and then Rose and is it Jang? Rose and Jang are
It's
fighting?
Carlos Esparza.
No,
Oh,
Carlos
Carla
Barza.
Esparza. That's right. Ooh, Carla could win that.
Hmm. It's a
Yeah, she's at
rematch too. Carla
100%.
won the first one.
Yeah. Carla's a dog too. Like, and she keeps a good pace. And then
Very.
Rose is explosive, and she has conditioning, but she has like striking conditioning. And then Carla has that grappling conditioning, which are two completely
Hmm.
different things.
Two
So
different things.
I think that's another banger. That's an exciting one too. Yeah,
Hmm.
you can see Carla
Interested.
Esparza, new champ.
Well, that's the thing is like when you look at back in the day that they were the ones who fought for the inaugural strawweight championship out of the Ultimate Fighter, and so she actually wrestled at Menlo with my older brother, and he said the same thing about her, that she's just like she just grinds. Like that was a difference even when she was in college and everything like that. She sometimes she's not the most technical, sometimes she's not the most like pretty when she's in there, but
Yeah.
everything is just a grind. And that's what I feel like, to beat someone like Rose is like she's so technical that you kind of have to make it messy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You got to make it a dogfight to
Mhm.
beat someone like Rose. I feel like that's what Carla has to do here. That she's obviously not going to be able to sit and stand in front of her. That's the last thing you do in front of Rose. But we're really going to be able to see where Rose's like entire game is gone, because I feel like her last two fights, high level strikers. Now this is like the highest high level wrestlers in the division, so
Mhm.
this would be a real big test for Rose, I think.
Yeah. I can see it going both ways, that fight though. Rose is good,
Mm.
and I mean, she's like not only technical, but she's an athlete, dude. Like she's a
Mm-hmm.
special athlete at 115, man. But yeah, like you said, uh, you grind anybody. Like, and Carla does it naturally. She
Mm-hmm.
grinds on people naturally, and that's what she has to do to win. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fight more for Carla for sure. But yeah, never know what happens. Maybe Carla gets knocked out uh, or finished. So we'll see.
And then also you got to think too, like with Rose, where she's at mentally is a big part of the fight too. You know
Yeah,
what I
I was
mean?
just
Like,
thinking the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah, like
yeah,
her
she's
mental game is huge for her success or
yeah,
downfall.
it's crazy because like she's either like off the wagon or she's on it,
And when she's
So
on it though, she's the
yeah,
best
bro,
fighter in
she's
the world. Like it's crazy.
indestructible when she's on it,
Hmm.
Like most people, when people believe, like they're gonna like be a different level, That's everybody. But yeah, she's one of those people that like, and we've met people like this where like there are mental cases, and you're like, man, like if this guy just got his mentality right, he'd be a killer. But yeah, she's definitely kind of like she loses it a little bit. You see it sometimes before her fights,
Hmm.
but And then, but I mean, she's been on a tear, beating Jang and Joanna, dude. But we'll see where she's at. It's hard when you face someone that's already beaten you. There's a lot of nerves to that, and I can attest to that because one of my first win from my 2-fight loss streak was from someone who beat me. You know, and there really is like a lot of doubts in your head. You're like, man, should I be doing this? You know, this person already beat me. You know, so I know she's probably feeling those same emotions that, you know, just like any other person would feel against someone that beat them. But
For
yeah,
sure. And that might play this into, you know, more of a problem with Rose because, you know, God bless her, but we're all talking about it. She is in her head a lot. And you combine that with what you just said about the prior victory. So I think if she's got it together, I think personally she'll go out and smoke Carla. But
yeah,
I think it's a coin flip as to whether she's got it together. And if she can't, you know, if she can't keep it through the whole 5 rounds as well, and you're right, Carla will just grind her out for the victory. But all in all, another great fight. This whole main card pay-per-view, like Paul and I kind of bitch on the show a lot about the price tag of some of these UFC cards and the fights that they're putting on there.
yeah.
But that's not a problem this week, man. This one is killer.
This one's a banger. This one, they'll get my money.
I'm watching at some friend's house or some shit.
Yeah. About to shack up. Who knows? You're paying the fight? I'll bring the case of beer. $15 or $75? I'll take the 15.
Yeah, exactly. You split it with some friends, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, we're really looking forward to hearing about, you know, your next fight announcement. And we appreciate you coming on and talking about, you know, all these fights and your time at Lauzon's camp and your expert knowledge on how, you know, this card is looking and what these fighters bring to the table. It's real cool to sit and talk with you. And I'd like to make sure our fans can all know where they can find you on social media.
Oh, yeah. So actually just made a Twitter. I just made a Twitter so you can find me, Carlos Azoia MMA. And then same on Instagram, Carlos Lozoya MMA. Real simple. So that's where you can find me.
All right, dope. Well, we will. We're on Twitter too, so we'll make sure we follow
Oh,
you.
yeah, that's right. Everyone
Retweet
has
that stuff
Twitter.
out. Yeah.
Everyone's got Twitter.
I think
now.
Twitter's about to
Yeah.
come back in, man. Twitter was been on the fade for a while, but
Yeah,
it might
it's
get
back.
popular again.
Twitter's
so.
back. No.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I'm just getting into the tweeting, man. Too many social medias, honestly.
Dude, there's so
I got
many.
told I gotta make one, so I just made one.
That's good, man. Well, everybody listening, please go find Carlos there. We're going to keep everybody in our audience updated on your next fight as well. And, you know, thank you so much for coming on.
Yep. Thanks again, brother.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. That was fun. I appreciate it, man.
We'll see you next time, man.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you.
see you next time, brother.
Dude, that was really dope having Carlos back on the show and hearing his clearly expert insight on a lot of these fights and being in Lauzon's camp and everything.
Yeah, honestly, I've known Carlos my whole life, and he's a very, very like smart at breaking down styles and techniques, and it's always great and insightful getting a good conversation with like that.
Dude, you know, I think he's right about the breakout, dude. I mean, the
on
6-fight
the
win
brink.
streak is no joke. He's extremely talented, and this switch over, you know, like we discussed on the show, but or in the interview, the switch and being around, like you summed it up well when you said iron sharpens iron.
Yeah,
It's not that he needed to necessarily learn new skills, but dude, you become who you hang out with. You know what I mean? And when you're the best guy in your prior gym, maybe, or one of the best, and then
Yeah.
you go hang around these guys that are like world
talking
class.
about like he
And-
was talking about going to the New England Cartel, training with Calvin Cater and Rob Font, and then obviously Joe Lauzon, who's a multiple
using the
time
same
UFC guy.
nutritionists as these guys, being
Yeah.
able to really dial in the not the technical fighting skills, but the other things with
The
your
mentality.
body and the mentality. And it's just super dope, dude. 7 or 6-fight win streak, about to be 7, most likely.
2 finishes in a row.
Contender
Dana White, where you
Series.
at?
Where you at, Dana? Let's hope he gets that short notice, that
Mm-hmm.
UFC break, either the Contender Series, short notice, whatever.
Yep.
And let's wrap up this UFC talk with a look back at last week's event, which the card itself was kind of unimpressive, but the main event was dope.
Yeah.
Like we said it would be. However, I can't remember who you picked, but I know I picked Rob Font. I thought Font was going to really outclass him here.
I
And
think I said that I thought Font was gonna win, but I wanted Cheeto to win because that's naturally how it was in my head. To be honest, like I like Cheeto Vera, and I'm really happy with the performance he put on because he looked fantastic.
I like Cheeto as well. I just did not think that he had that extra level.
Dude.
I didn't.
He's very similar to like I know I make this comparison now with everybody who's in the UFC for a long time, but kind of like fucking Charles. We've watched him like become a better and better fighter in front of our eyes. You know what I mean? Like he's had some setbacks, he's had some great fights, he's had some performances that have like put him on the map, and he's had some not so great ones. And I feel like this is one of the performances that like has really established himself now as a top of the food chain bantamweight and a guy that Aljamain Sterling and everyone inside that top 3 need to worry about.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And for those that missed the fight, I mean, it was a decision victory, but it was very clear. I mean,
Yeah.
he had
He
that full
battered him.
deacon.
Yeah.
And Rob Font, in my mind, and my opinion, is a top tier
It
fighter.
didn't come without adversity though. Early in the fight, Rob had a real good game plan. He was pushing the pace. He was trying to break Cheeto. But I think what happened was just sometimes when you try to break someone and they're just not breaking, and then they come back at you with that same pace, it's just scary. Because like, not scary. I'm not saying Rob was
Not like
scared,
he's
but
frightened of them, but
it's
yeah,
the mentality of
it's a
it,
mental challenge.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good way to put it. Yeah.
There's everyone loves to say it's not there, but every sport, no matter what you're in, has momentum. And when you have momentum and it gets broken, it's devastating.
You're right, and
Like it's devastating to the psyche. It doesn't matter if you're shooting basketballs, any of that shit. You know, you see a guy go on a streak of however many 3-point shots or whatever, and then misses. Then mentally he's like, "Fuck, I'm screwed." You know
Right.
what I mean? Then they shoot bad for the rest of the game. That's kind of what happened with Rob. He came out and looked great early. It was like, oh, maybe this is too much for Cheeto. But then I think about like halfway through the second and on, it was just all Cheeto for me.
Yeah, it was a really impressive performance. Cheeto Vera showed me that it's a serious threat to the top 3-4 guys in this division.
I think
And
even Aljo would be
his name gets some respect put on it. I also
he has like a cult following too. Like he'd be easy to like promote into some of these main events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because he's been like replacement last minute main events, and people love to see him.
Dude, he's the kind of guy who reminds me of the best of George Masvidal. He kind of has that aura about him.
The Diaz brother kind of thing.
Yeah, but he hasn't like translated that to mainstream MMA yet. You know what I mean?
Culture,
like, but he could. No,
Yeah.
he's right there, and my point being is he could be a guy that breaks out into like a slightly later in the career superstardom.
Yeah, I don't even think later in the career. I think he's like on the brink of it, like right now.
Well, I mean,
Like,
he's just been. It's not like
he's
compare
what,
him
29ish, something like that.
Like compare him to like Sean O'Malley, who's had all the hype from the instant. Like he's a young dude filled with hype right from the get go. Cheeto Vera is a grinder that not too many people outside of MMA culture were really like putting anything on him. But he's got all the ingredients I think you need to just break out and be this guy.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And like I said too, like although he's still young in his like actual like UFC career, he has like 12 fights in the UFC.
Yeah,
he's
been in there for a while. It's weird. He doesn't.
He's just like you were saying, he has that Masvidal Diaz like attitude where he just doesn't give a fuck, win or lose. He's not gonna make any excuses. He wasn't tough enough. Like he's always gonna come out and be a tough motherfucker, win or lose. You know what I mean? Like you're never gonna see him give up in there. And I feel like that's a big part of his like rise in this division also, because kind of back to what we were talking about before with the mentality thing, like that mentality of just like not giving a fuck in a fight matters. Like, you know what I mean? Like people can say what they want, but when guys like Connor or Nate Diaz or Nick or a lot of these guys who talk shit in the octagon, when you miss or you hit them and they go, "Nah, that shit didn't hurt," that makes you want to hit them so much harder. Like think about the psyche of like even when he fought, although he lost to Jose Aldo, imagine being in the octagon with a guy who's an up and comer. You're Jose Aldo, one of the greatest fighters who's ever been in the UFC. And this motherfucker flips you off and tells you to fuck off in the middle of the octagon before the fight, he's talking about you're a big reason why he wanted to fight and everything.
Right.
Because he's like that. He keeps it real.
Yeah.
He gives respect, but when they're in the octagon, there is no respect for anybody when it comes to fighting against a guy like a Chito Vera, or like a Nader Nick or Connor or something like that.
Exactly.
And that's why I feel like that's what's gonna ascend him into stardom. You know what I mean?
100%, bro.
People love that shit.
Yeah, they do.
I love that shit.
I do too.
Yeah.
Shit, that's what attracts me to fucking fighting.
Yeah, because that
he's
don't
a
give
fighter's
fuck.
fighter. Like that's a dude. And like, I'm very interested in the fact and impressed by the fact that he did call out Jose Aldo, who he lost to. I respect the fuck out of that, and he wants it in a 5-round fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it'll happen or not, but just that desire to be like, nah, that was bullshit. I can beat this guy, and I'm not even gonna call for a title shot. I want this fucking dude who just beat me. Fuck that. I want to beat you. I love that shit.
Yeah. Chito Vera's got a bright future.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what's next for old boy.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of wraps up UFC and mixed martial arts, and that means it's time for the boxing breakdown.
Big weekend, big couple of weekends of boxing we've had these last few, huh?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm so happy. Like being a
it's on
former
fire.
boxer, I'm excited when boxing is healthy. Like all of us are who love fights, but you know what I mean? It's like on a personal level, like I feel bummed out when boxing's in low points. It's like, and I like MMA enough stuff too, but my heart's always with the boxers. And so, what a fucking weekend, dude.
A lot of guys who I feel like could be real big, and women that could be very big mainstream sellers as well. Like this was an opportunity where we had two humongous like fights when you really look at it. I'd say we start in Madison Square Garden where we had the very first ever women's title bout headline a card in Madison Square Garden since it's ever been open, which is just it's groundbreaking for both these ladies, and it comes from two women who are both not even from the United States.
Yeah, we're talking about
Puerto Rico and Ireland.
Yeah, of course, we're talking about the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight. It's a 4-belt unification,
huge fight,
historic for the division, and these are two women that are undeniably top tier fighters and athletes. And you don't have to stick the caveat in front of it of the top tier women's boxers. Kind of like you can make these things to say about Rose and about Valentina Shevchenko in MMA, you know, and people like Amanda Nunes that are these established fighters that it's not just in their area. Like these are people that they're just top tier athletes everywhere. However you want to compare them with men or whoever else, they're top of the food chain. And it was a big moment because also it was a big fight. And by that, I mean, people cared.
Yeah.
The gate seemed successful. It headlined MSG. That's a
not only that, it was
location.
trending on Twitter probably for a whole maybe 10 hours after. Like, it was literally the whole day, and then going into the next morning, it was top 5 trending on Twitter. Like that means something. You know what I mean? Like that's big.
Well, it winds up. Let's read the scores here. When it's all said and done, for all 4 belts, the scores were 96-94 for Serrano, and then 97-93 and 96-93 for Taylor. So she gets the pretty close. You know, it's a split decision. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Any way you want to slice it.
Yep.
She does get the victory. She is now the first 4-belt unified champion in that division. And there's immediate talk of a rematch. But there's some stats here that I find interesting here. You know, it was, like you said, it was terrific action from
the bell.
I mean, look at the last 2 minutes. And what did you think of just the last 1 minute of that fight, Paul?
Yeah, it was a knockdown, drag it out war for sure.
Just from the top out. But Serrano did have a 173 to 147 edge in landed punches, and that was really bolstered up by a 44 to 14 edge in round 5. So I mean, she had a terrific round 5. These two ladies, this fight was so close and so action filled, dude. They landed within 6 punches of each other in 8 out of 10 rounds.
Yeah, that's just it's tough to judge. Like there was a lot of people that were like online talking about the the decision and everything, but I don't think like with a fight that was close like this, I don't really know. It wasn't like it was a robbery.
No, not at
It was
all.
never a robbery, but it was just like you could have had it the other way because there were so many rounds that were like pretty close. You know what I mean?
Serrano,
Just-
she wound up landing 36% of her power punches to Taylor's 47% of her
Yeah.
power shots. And here's a final interesting statistic about this: is the 173 punches that Serrano landed were the most ever landed by an opponent of Katie Taylor, and the 147 punches landed by Taylor were the most ever landed by a Serrano opponent.
Yeah.
And let's remind our listeners, that this isn't a point contest to the fact like who landed the most punches at the end of it. So it doesn't. It's irrelevant really
Yeah.
as to who landed more shots because clearly that advantage came in one single round.
Yeah.
And the round did not wind up being a 10-8 round.
Mhm.
So one single round a fight does not make unless there's like multiple knockdowns or something dramatic that shifts it into 10-8 scores. Because unlike MMA, 10-8s come into play in a major way in boxing.
Yeah.
Any type of knockdown goes into a fucking 10-8. Multiple ones they'll do fucking 10-7s.
Mhm.
And then that's really inconsequential. But these high punch differentials, it is what it is. You had a great
Yeah.
round and you won that round, but it's still a
Mhm.
10 fucking 9 round.
Well, and then at the end of the day too, like there's when there's flurries, when there's like super high output like this, and there's a lot of flurry, like a lot of trading, it really just comes down to what judges feel like who got the best of each other
Yeah,
in there. You know what I mean? And I do think the power punches, like you were talking about before, like could have swayed them. Just
Mhm.
because it close fights like this, this was not like I said before, it wasn't a robbery. I just thought it was a real close fight, and I'm not mad Taylor won, but I thought it was really really close.
This is one of the few times because we fucking keep it real here. I mean, we're fans of certain people on this show and we have our biases, and I think we try to be pretty open about those biases. And I talk a lot of shit, and so do you, frankly, about Jake Paul, the
Yeah.
boxer.
Mhm.
But I'm going to give Jake Paul, the fledgling but now successful boxing promoter, props here.
Yeah, this was a good
You
one.
made an important fight happen. You were a part of an important fight happening, at least on one side.
Yeah.
And not only did it just happen, but these women got the fucking shine that they deserve
Mhm.
that is sorely lacking in women's boxing.
Yeah.
It's not right. They don't make the same amount of money. They don't, and it's not necessarily because it's sexism, but it's because they don't draw fucking crowds. You can't pay
Yeah.
somebody millions of dollars when nobody's ordering a fucking pay-per-view and the arena's half fucking empty.
But see, when you have fights like this that were promoted the right way, everybody gets paid. You know what I mean? So at the end of the
Exactly.
day, it was just one of those fights that I think was groundbreaking for the
Groundbreaking.
division. Yeah, for the division, and it shows like other top level women's boxers that with the right promotion they could do something just as big.
Dude, I think it's super important, and I'll give Jake Paul credit on that aspect of it. And I
Yeah.
give all the credit in the world to both of these women athletes here.
Yeah.
Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, thank you for putting on a fucking killer show.
Yeah.
Probably going to see a rematch here,
Yeah.
and I don't think anybody's mad about that.
Be cool to see. Maybe they take it somewhere bigger and see how much they could sell it out.
They bring it here to Vegas.
Because that was a hell of a fight too. Because like they could use not only before we saw how it did before the fight even happened, and they promoted it the right way. Now that you have a war like that, and you can promote it off of that, and
Yeah,
use
it's
all
getting
the
all this big
highlights and all
press.
this big press,
And the
this
people
could be
that
a
didn't know.
whole nother thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Because there'll be all these people that
Kudos to them. Yeah.
were unaware of the fight beforehand that'll hear all this buzz afterwards. So when the rematch comes around, it might be easier to sell them in on it. Because that's all I want here. I don't give a flying rat's ass if Jake Paul makes any money, or Eddie Hearn for that matter. But the athletes, that's all we give a fuck about on the show, are the athletes. And big sales should equal big paydays for these women.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt. Well, we also had some other boxing go down right here in Vegas. We had Shakur Stevenson take on Oscar Valdez in a unification bout for the super featherweight championship, and just what I thought was a masterclass by Shakur Stevenson.
yeah, this is while equally as impressive in
Yeah.
different aspects, this was the opposite of the Serrano-Taylor fight.
Yeah.
This was all Shakur Stevenson.
Mm.
Talk about a coming out party. I mean, we all knew he was good, but this is supposed to be like a test here.
Yeah, this is supposed to be
And-
his biggest test. He passed with freaking no real adversity. I mean, don't get me wrong, Valdez, you know, he put the work in. It wasn't like he got
Yeah.
completely
No,
washed.
he had
but-
moments of success.
Yeah, but
through in the fight, and
Stevenson was just too strong, hit him too hard, and
yeah, Stevenson was tested.
too fast.
You know, but he winds up winning a unanimous decision with scores of 117, 110, 118, 109, and 118, 109.
Yeah.
That's utter domination.
Yeah, and then he hits him with the slickest knockdown, probably of like I've seen in a while. So just his footwork was ridiculous. He turned the corner so quick, he had him like almost tripped over, and then he hits him with an uppercut and just puts him down in the sixth. And then I thought that was just the icing on the cake. You know what I mean?
That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Pivoting like that and throwing uppercuts is so
Yeah.
deadly. Footwork is so important in boxing.
Because he had him on the ropes and he like bounced off and
Mhm.
stuck. Oh, it was
Just
nasty.
gets him. I mean, he wound up outlanding Oscar Valdez 189 to 110 in total punches. Lands 53% of his power punches. And Valdez falls to 30-1. You know, this is his first defeat, and man,
Mhm.
was it a sounding one.
Yeah.
And now Stevenson has really announced himself here as
Yeah.
a fucking force to be reckoned with. He is still a young fighter.
Like 24.
Yeah. Medalist, isn't he?
Yeah, silver medalist in the Rio Olympics.
What a performance. And who's he talking about?
Well, yeah, after the fight, he was saying that he wants to either fight the winner of Haney and George Kambosos.
That'd be great. So he's talking about moving up.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's his name, man? George Kambosos?
yeah, you're right. I would love that. I love the
Yeah.
fact that he's looking to challenge himself to the
And that's
extreme.
a division with so much talent that like there could be so many great fights right there.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Going to lightweight.
This is a fighter that we need to be keeping an eye on. And if you're listening right now, if you're
You don't know by
unfamiliar,
now.
if you don't know by now, now you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catch this next fight. Whatever it's for, it's going to be a big one with
Yeah.
Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us, we'll round out the show and the boxing breakdown here with a discussion about the big fight upcoming, because it's just week after week with boxing.
Yeah.
And now we've got the best in the business outside of Tyson Fury. You can go back and forth, but no doubting he's an all-time GOAT. Canelo Alvarez versus Dimitri Bivol. I don't know, I'm high. For the light heavyweight title, correct?
Yeah.
So
Canelo just, he's running out of options, so he's just out here trying to do the most.
yeah, I mean, if people listening somehow were unaware of, I mean, Canelo Alvarez has unified all four major world titles. He became undisputed super middleweight champ, doing that 11th round TKO victory over Caleb Plant. This was just November 6th of last year. And, we thought he was going to go all the way up to cruiserweight and fight
Yeah.
Makabu, which was going to be crazy.
There was a couple different guys too. He could have fought Bidabidov. He was talking
Mhm.
about that one as well.
Yeah.
Those would have been some very interesting fights. I
Yeah,
thought.
because those guys are very large.
Yeah.
I mean, but anyways, instead, it got announced on February 25th of this year that Alvarez signs a 2-fight deal with Matchroom, dude. And the first fight's going to see him returning to the light heavyweight division, where he already won a title,
Yeah.
which he vacated, correct? I'm
I
pretty certain he
believe
dropped it.
Yeah, when he beat Kovalev.
Yeah. But he's going to be taking on a guy who's been long reigning for a while, the WBA super champion, Dimitri Bivol. And I think it's a great fight, dude. This guy's had the title since 2016 with the interim. And then he was designated also a super champion in 2019. So it's technically for 2 titles, the WBA super title and then the world title, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know, boxing with all this shit, dude. That might be slightly incorrect. I don't know, whatever. But he definitely has the I say a slight size advantage. here. But I mean, what do you think? I think it's going to be all Canelo. I mean, it's not like a impressive prediction here, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. But what's interesting about this though is Canelo already has his next fight signed as well.
Yeah.
He's turning around after this and he's fighting Triple G on September 17th. So like I wonder like if any of this like if we're gonna see a situation where Canelo just tries to get in there and just put him away quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know that sounds
short
fucked up, but you know what I'm saying? Like I wonder it could get him in trouble, I guess, but you know what I'm saying? Like he could just come out here and try to make quick work of homeboy.
Yeah, I mean, he's undefeated. I mean, he's 19-0 with 11 KOs. He's 6 feet tall. He's got the size advantage. You know, Canelo's 5'8" on a tall day.
Yeah.
5'7.5" technically.
Yeah.
They're both orthodox, so he's clearly given up a size advantage. But he's already proven that doesn't matter. He's Canelo Alvarez. He's going to go in there and.
Who knows though? Because when he did fight Kovalev, he was a little bit more willing to get hit. You know what I mean? Because normally, like when he was fighting, like middleweight, super middleweight, all the different weight classes, his defense has been a pretty big part of his game. But I thought in the Kovalev fight, he let Kovalev hit him a little bit more, tire him out, and then put him away. I wonder if he would have a very similar game plan here, or is he going to go out there and try to just gas him with his defense?
Right.
That's what Canelo does at his best. He hits you with punches you don't see coming, and then when you try to hit him, he gets out of the way and makes you look stupid.
I doubt Canelo's wanting to go 12 rounds here, though. I mean, with a fight right around the corner in September, it's not like he stays out of shape, though. This is a guy that stays in shape in between camps and clearly wants.
I wonder
what
he comes in weighing in at here.
I'd be very interested in that. Boxing also gives us the fight night weights as well, so I'll be interested in hearing that too. But I mean, clearly, until Canelo shows us otherwise, I think it's ridiculous to pick against him. So I'm picking a Canelo victory here.
Yeah, always.
And honestly, I'm not as interested in the Triple G fight after Triple G's last victory. I mean, it's going to happen, but I think Canelo will put a stamp on it.
You think
then
so?
Too, because I think while Triple G still won in his last bout, he did not look himself, and he clearly looked like his age is starting to catch up with him. And Canelo is clearly in his prime, possibly even getting better.
Yeah.
And we had a couple close ones before. This one will be all Canelo in September. Again, not a crazy
I tend to agree.
But
right. Canelo's just on another level to me, bro. I don't see anybody who's gonna beat him. I mean, we could be wrong, but you know what I'm saying. I just don't like. And honestly, I thought Triple G won the first fight against Canelo, to be honest. But since then, he's just been so fucking good against so many like high level talented guys that I just can't pick against him at this point anymore. I refuse.
No, me neither. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great night of action. Just because you think a fighter is going to win, it doesn't mean that it's not exciting to watch. He's a master at what he does, and it's going to be a fucking great weekend of fights, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that about wraps up our show for today.
It does. It's been great. I'd like to thank Carlos Azoia once again for coming on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And if you're brand new, you can find our podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are out. And we even do video for everybody up on YouTube if you prefer to actually see my bald head and Paul's handsome face. So, where can everybody find that information?
All that information's at SWATMA.com, where you can head over there, click the gear button, support the podcast, or you can also head over to Instagram and follow us at SWAT MMA Podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.